if you can, give everyone a brief introduction to yourself, background, and then we'll get into the questions in just a second. I'll look to solve these other issues.
Okay. Well, hey guys, I'm Susan Bradley. I'm the founder of the Social Sales Girls, but actually what I really am is a Shopify merchant, just like you all. I actually sold my most recent Shopify store at the end of December 2018. And so I woke up January 1st with a nice full bank account, but no store. And so I decided that I was going to set up a new store right from scratch, right from zero, and share my journey with our audience all the way from zero to the first $50,000 in sales. So I'm not sure whether that was brave or foolish, maybe a little bit of both, but we are in the beginning stages of setting up our new Shopify project. And so I really want to show people that how the road goes, and how, even though for me I'm experienced and have had a couple of successful exits from businesses, that there's still there will be some bumps along the way. So I would love to show you a real journey, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about my last business and then talk about how it's going on the roadmap to 50K.
Yeah, I love it. And let me know if you still hear that echo. And
No,
guys at home, it's still there?
No, it's not there. We're good.
Oh, we're good? Okay, perfect. All right, so let's start with that first store. Just like even before you started your first store, and Susan, maybe you saw my slide on that: skill times resources times market dynamics.
Yes.
What got you into e-commerce, and what's your background before starting your first store?
So my background is that I've always been in retail, and that my very first business was a small chain of independent stores, bricks and mortar stores, which I sold in 2010. And I had that business for many, many years, and it hit seven figures in the second year. Now, having said that, it wasn't always profitable, and it wasn't always fun. So just so everybody knows that seven figures is just a number. Doesn't mean you can hit seven figures and lose money too. But that was my first business. So always been a retailer. WeSqueak, my most recent e-commerce store, was a business that I actually purchased. It was a business that was failing and struggling, and I had some experience with the product in my first business. And so I purchased WeSqueak, and we did a giant pivot right after I purchased it. So we had more than $1 million in wholesale accounts with some majors like Target and Von Maur, and just some pretty big accounts. But we also had around 800 wholesale accounts in small independent retailers. And so we pivoted, and actually within a year, we decided to put all our focus on direct to consumer. So we had to go out and build an audience, introduce ourselves to people who didn't know us. And in 1 year, we managed to build an email list of 18,000 people and make our core business direct to consumer, which was incredibly more profitable and less stressful.
Let's dive into that one. And I love it, and I believe it. When you move from wholesale to direct to consumer, did you surrender wholesale all at once? Did you just change your focus and you kept the wholesale accounts? Did you use wholesale to fuel? Yeah, walk me through it.
So what we did really was we took a year to transition. I can still remember the first Christmas that I decided we were going to do this. And it was, there was an aha moment for me, which was that my mother, our sales were slow. And my mother, who was in her 70s at the time, came into my house and said that she'd just done all her Christmas shopping online. And I was like, well, I'm in trouble. If my mom can figure out how to do this, this is really, the writing's on the wall here, that this is where it's at, and we need to go ahead and do this. And so I kind of made a decision that year that I was going to stop doing trade shows, stop really pushing hard, and aligning my business with the wholesale industry, and that I was going to focus on the one thing I knew, which was building a list. Because in my previous business, we did a lot of direct marketing through mail, and so I thought I can do this. So we focused that year on building our email list. All our efforts, because here's the thing: one thing, if you put all your efforts on one thing, you really move the needle. And so we put all our efforts into building our audiences on social and building a great email list. And so by the end of the next year, we were able to say that we would no longer be able to service any wholesale accounts unless they would like to log into our site and order online.
Love it. So in the early stages of this, it's got to feel a little bit risky. Did you understand the customer mindset, like the market, like demand for this? Did you know how to position the brand, or how did you maybe start talking to customers and get a feel for that?
So we just started talking, and I find on social media what works, particularly on Facebook. We had a different program on Instagram, but I find what works is just being really real and honest. And so I think when we started this journey, we had fewer than 3,000 or around 3,000 followers on Facebook, and we were able to grow that. I think over the next couple of years to more than 100,000. Now that wasn't all organic. We started out spending $10 a day on Facebook ads. Ended up spending more than that, but we'd show people the products we were thinking about. We would engage them with fun online events where they could win something, or they could get an exclusive code, or we would have exclusive launches where there were only 200 of a particular shoe, and so it was like, the prize to get it. And so we just really started focusing hard on those things, the email list and growing social, and paying attention to what worked and doing more of that. Because not everything we did worked, of course, but we look for engagement. Engagement's where it's at, really.
I love it. So yeah, and I think that's exactly what a new store here should be thinking about, is how do I test various products? I find the hot ones and I double or triple down on that, because we're looking at things like, figuring out our supply chain, moving from drop shipping to sourcing. And I think that that's the only way to do it the right way is getting that customer feedback. Yeah. If you think something's going to be hot and you buy 100 or 1,000 of this product, you could be in, a big,
over your head.
Yeah. A big cash flow problem. Yeah. So I think that's brilliant. I love that you did that from the beginning. I just want to tell me about the hiring roadmap for that business, and who did you hire? When did you decide to hire? How did you decide to hire?
So I am not particularly strong in tech. So the first person that I had with me was someone who could work the ESP, who could work the email, who could make me landing pages, who could add products to our store. And so that was my first hire. And then beyond that, I actually hired somebody to help me with Instagram, because I feel that I'm quite strong on Facebook, but not so much on Instagram. And so we felt that because of our ideal client was a young mom who, had a phone in her hand at all times, that we needed to have a strong presence on Insta, but also to involve that community in some influencer marketing stuff. And so my second hire was someone very part-time. Like all my hires started out with kind of I can afford $10 a day for you to drop in and do this. And so that was our second play, was someone to grow and interact with our Instagram following. And then eventually she developed our influencer program. So that was my second hire. And my third hire for sure was a customer service person.
Yeah. Yeah. Now with that second hire, you said she developed your influencer program. So what's that?
I just said, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is something that I found like to be a problem, where you hire them for one thing and that's all they really can do for you. So were you hiring somebody that you knew could like handle complex strategic decisions, could help you grow the company could grow into that position, or did they happen to do that by accident? Or, like, what do you kind of look for in those hires to make sure that maybe they're not just fulfilling the job you have for them today, but the job that you might have for them in the future?
Yeah. So I hire for culture first. I think that we can train people for almost everything, but what we can't do, or is super hard to do, is train somebody for culture. And what I mean by that is that I think on social media and just with overall strategy for my business, I need someone who understands my ideal customer. And so in every case, for the hires I made, they came from our audience. So for us, we sold to a lot of young moms. And so our entire team was young moms. So they already kind of spoke the language. They knew what the pain points were. They knew what the benefits of our product were. They had used and loved the product themselves. And so all that soft stuff, we didn't have to train. And I'm a really big believer in letting people own their jobs, letting them make, giving them some guidelines and letting them make that job fit them, because I feel like then they're more invested in our success as a team. And so what I would do with each hire is say, okay, so here's what I can afford to pay. I don't care about how many hours you work. This is the result I want. Here's the outcome. So the outcome with customer service is I need people to have an answer within 24 hours. I need people to not be jumping on social media telling everyone, what jerks we are. So here's what I'm prepared for you to make a decision on. XYZ, and then if it gets beyond that, then call me. But I want you to own the result here. You are smart. You know what a customer would want to feel satisfied, and so I want you to have the options to make those decisions. And so really, it was just more of an overall feeling of community as we went through. And so when we would reach the next challenge, then of course we would say, okay, here's the outcome we want. What can we'll have a team meeting and say, what can each of you contribute in your area of expertise to get us there? Because at the end, by the time I sold, we had an Instagram person, a customer service person, a Facebook person. We had our warehouse people. And so we had, not a huge team, but a team of people that all had really strong skill in one area and brought good stuff to the table for us.
Yeah, I love it. And I really think that is, it's what's the word, like a forward-facing, a future-facing management strategy. And I think it's the right approach. And when I worked in a company like BoxyCharm, it was the exact opposite of letting you own things. It was a top-down directive where the CEO is still probably to this day making decisions on which Instagram posts are going out. And the company's almost valued at $1 billion. And it's like, how can you
wasn't $1 billion, but
yeah.
It was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. And it's just like, yeah, it's the difference between like empowering people and
right.
and I don't know, making them feel like it's a grind.
Yeah. It's a collaborative approach for me. I really don't think I know everything. I know some things, and I certainly have some really core strengths, but there are a lot of things I'm weak on. So it makes sense to hire for those weaknesses. But I think more than anything, it's just making sure we all feel like we're part of the same team and that there's we all have a stake in the result. But I think that was huge for us.
Yeah. That's awesome. So let's talk about the new company and how are you doing this? How are you pulling it off? How did you find the new business or product, especially because you're going all the way from zero this time? So tell us about the journey and where you're at and all of that.
Okay. So right now I'm in the product development stage. And so if I'm being honest here, and I heard a little bit of what you said, so that I will not invest $100,000. It will be significantly less, like
okay,
hugely less. What I really, I have the resources to invest, I guess whatever I want to win, but that's not a fair representation of the average person. I think what they can do. What I really want to show is a path of how you can maybe go from being a full-time employee somewhere to starting a business on the side to perhaps a year or 2 years in, making that your full-time income. And so that's what I want to demonstrate. So it'll be significantly less than 100,000. Right now, I'm in the product development stage. And so I actually am just wrapping up today this list of rules that I have built around what a product, what makes an easy to sell product as opposed to one that perhaps won't lead you to success. And so I have, there's about 12 rules, some I call my red rules, that are really like, you got to stop and look at this, my friends, because if you build a business where the product doesn't meet some of this criteria, it's going to be an uphill slog. And so I have a few red rules, and then I have some rules that we call yellow rules that are stop and consider this, because if you take A course, it's going to be easier. If you take B course, be aware of the limitations and make sure that you make adjustments so that you can, that you can grow your business with that product. And then I have some green rules that make it really easy to scale your business. I think there are products that you can scale a lot faster than others. And so I'm just wrapping that up today. And we do have a product. We've decided on a product. I'm using Nathan Resnick. He's helping me.
Yes, awesome. Sourcify.
Yeah, and so he's helping me with that, and it's been great. So we'll have him on and have him talk about the different ways to work with him. But so we are almost there. And then my next step, and I think so many people miss this, the next step for us will be to get some proof of concept. So I heard you say it. Before you go and buy 1,000 of these things or 5,000 or whatever the minimum is, you really want to know that you're not in your head too much and you've talked yourself into how great this is, and everybody else is going like, I don't know. You really want people to not support your product with just their affirmation. You want them to support it with their wallets.
Yeah, absolutely. Does that mean you might be going a Kickstarter route or something like that?
No, I don't think I'm going to do the Kickstarter route because Social Sales Girls we have a program. We have a couple of programs, but our big program is our Inner Circle, and that takes about 70 or 80% of my time. And so I'm already thinking could be a public fail, right? I'm already like, let's get to that 50K. And so I thought a Kickstarter was probably too much for our team to take on. But I have kind of an innovative way to get some proof of concept, which I'll be sharing with the people who are following us on the roadmap so that they can see, because it's great. There are so many options, so many things that you can do in this day and age that will get you that proof of concept without you having to make a huge investment.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fine the Kickstarter route is possibly overplayed, and you can do your own campaign launches as opposed to kind of.
I think it's a job in itself, the Kickstarter. I think that there's a huge misconception between in our community of Shopify merchants or wannabe Shopify merchants is that the most important thing is your product and a beautiful website and telling your story. And frankly, no, I don't think that's the thing. I think it's the marketing. I think it's marketing over product 9 times over 10. And I think that you can't start a Kickstarter. We have many people in our inner circle that have had successful Kickstarter campaigns, and we have a few that have not. But it's a full-time job. It's a marketing play for sure. And I just felt like I wasn't at the point where I needed to take that on.
I love it. I think it's awesome. I think, for the people here that are just starting their store, highly recommend following Susan. I just put two links in chat, and I think that they're both worth following up for. I think the Inner Circle does cost money, so that's a choice you need to make. The Facebook group is open to everyone, right? The roadmap group, and you get I get great insights in there. I also try and comment and give my own feedback. A lot
Yeah,
of
and
great
I go
questions.
live every week on our page, on the Social Sales Girls page. I go live every week to talk about the roadmap project and where we're at. And we also send an email. But our Inner Circle program is really, it's designed to help people understand what's important and understand how to analyze and use like key metrics to grow their business. And so what I see all the time is people saying, can you look at my store? Because I've been open for 2 months and I don't have a sale. And my first question is, I don't even need to look at your store. Tell me about your traffic.
I like it. Yeah.
Right? Because it's like if nobody's coming, it doesn't matter how good it is. And so in our inner circle, we teach people how to drive organic and paid traffic. And there's certain numbers that you just have to reach before you can even look at whether your store is laid out effectively. And so we have our traffic section of the inner circle, and that leads into our conversion school, because the other thing that I've seen time and time again is that people don't understand what it really takes to get conversion. For example, my
Yes.
previous business, WeSqueak, I knew that if I could get people back to my site between 5 and 9 times in 5 days, I had a 25% chance of converting them.
Wow. Yeah. Once you
Pretty
know that, then you know all your dollars need to go into
right.
retargeting,
And you
high
can line up
frequency
your
retargeting.
marketing to get them back in that short, like the whole recency frequency thing, which I don't ever see discussed, but it's really the key to conversion. And so when people say, you know, I spent $1,000 on ads and you know, and I still don't have any sales, I'm like, well, because you missed the foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's, you know, my slide was like the essentially the, you know, the customer knows. They like assume that they're smart. They know whether like you have the best price or whether you have an established brand. Those things just come through in certain ways on your store, on your social pages, you know, from the photo proof that you have or don't have on your site, the number of reviews, things like that. And so it's really important to focus on those conversion elements and then hammer them home. Once you have them, you shout from the rooftop, like you said, 5 to 9 times. 7 is the magic number that every marketing book behind me will tell you is a requirement, right? But of course, 5 to 9 sounds a lot better because it's highly variable.
Right, and everybody's different, and so that's what we aim to teach. Like we need people to understand that, and so we work them through that. But and you know, that's going to be the same with my new business. It won't be any different.
All right, and Savas is here in chat with us. Susan, I really wish we had more time because I think you've got so much value that you can share with people. I think the best way to continue this conversation is going to be in your group, in your inner circle, and on your Facebook page. Guys, we dropped the links in chat. I highly recommend you go check out Susan's pages, her group. It's phenomenal, and she really helps. You know, you can follow her journey from $0 to $50,000. We'll drink some champagne virtually, maybe together when you hit it too.
I hope so. Yeah.
Awesome.
Say a prayer for me.
Yeah, it's going to happen. You have the skill, you have the resources,
Yeah.
and with Nathan sourcing
Great
the
team.
product.
Yeah, there's more than just Nathan. We've got a bunch of people lined up that will come and
You've got
help.
the market dynamics.
So helping me, and or having me. Thank you for having me, and I will absolutely answer questions. If people have questions in our group, I'm happy to answer them. It's the roadmap from 0 to 50K on Shopify.